Well, guys, you know what day it is. It's another episode of Comic Book Haul, and I have some really cool comics that I want to share with you that I bought over the weekend. So, without further ado, let's get to it right after the intro. Hey guys, welcome to News to Astonish, where we discuss comics, movies, games, and more, and welcome to another episode of Comic Haul. I got some comics that I want to share with you today that I bought yesterday, or over the weekend, or whatever you want to say. Anyways, let's start it off with Jessica Jones, number 16, Marvel Legacy, Return of the Purple Man. I am having a blast with these comics. It's a lot of fun to read. It doesn't feel very superhero-y, as you might want to call it that, but it's really cool, and I'm having a blast reading this. You know, you get really, involved with like the story, and the characters really draw you in because there's just something about the Jessica Jones character that's very interesting. You know, she's damaged, broken, and she has a lot going on. She has this creepy guy, the Purple Man, aka Kilgrave, following her around and messing with her mind and stuff, and it's really intense story writing, especially. But I urge you to pick up Jessica Jones comic books. They are really good. If you like the TV series, then you'll love the comics. Some of the actual panels in the comics remind me of the actual Netflix show. So, because I've watched Jessica Jones first before I started reading Jessica Jones comics. And I saw Jessica Jones before I even knew that there was an Alias comic series, which is Jessica Jones' first appearance in comic books, Alias. So if you haven't read that either, check that out as well. They're a little hard to find, by the way. So up next I have Dark Knight's Metal in number 5. They're still doing these, guys. Urge you to read them. These one-shots and this series is amazing. Mine are very special. I mean, mine has got like the 3D printout of Metal on top. I guarantee you, if you were to look for these comics and first original printings, they'd be very hard to find. Especially for like Batman: The Red Death. You can't find first printings anymore. They're extremely rare, and I just happen to own an original printing of that one in particular. The other ones you can find. You can find some of the other ones. You can find some of the other ones are actually a lot easier to find than, like, let's say, the Batman: The Red Death. Like, for example, you can find Dawnbreaker, still an original printing out there. But take advantage to get an original printing because they're going to be really rare in the future. I guarantee it. XMen number 11, excuse me. This one is from the 90s, if I'm not mistaken. It's an old cover. I've actually used this image before in one of my videos when I announced when I spoke about Fox being purchased by Disney, at least most of the valuable assets being purchased by Disney. I used this page in this panel because this is a cover, and that's from X-Men number 11. And I forgot what volume it was. Not like, this is like from the 80s. You can tell it's not from like the 60s or anything like that. But yes, I used this specific one to talk about Fox, Fox's assets to be being purchased by Disney, and it was really exciting. So I'm like, oh wow, that's the image that I used, and this came from that comic. So yeah, X-Men number 11. I haven't read this one yet, actually. I'm gonna read it, but I've read already like a couple of the issues that I got in my comic haul video today. So there's that one, X-Men number 11. All right, so I have this thing for Marvel Knights, and specifically surrounding Daredevil and Punisher. Marvel Knights Daredevil number 62, and I love these issues because they're a lot more intense and a lot more gritty and dark and more serious than your traditional classic Daredevil Man Without Fear comic books that came out in like the 60s, 70s, and 80s and 90s. But Daredevil in itself is a very interesting character, very a character that's really damaged and broken and very dark. There's a lot of dark elements to that character. But Marvel Knights takes it into to a whole nother level. We're talking about cranking the volume up of darkness to 11. And especially the artwork is very intriguing and it's really beautiful. I love the way they're drawn, especially the people. The people, the way they're drawn in these comics, they have like this realistic look to them. It's almost as if somebody took a picture of it and kind of like started smudging it a little bit to give it that like smudginess look to it. And the lighting, if this was like shot in cinematography, I mean, Daredevil Netflix is an example of that, where like a lot of the lighting is very dimmed and a lot of the scenes are dark because the character, it fits in tone with the character. It matches that, and you can tell a lot of inspiration was drawn from these comics specifically to make the TV show. And season 3 is going to be based off some of the issues and stories from Marvel Knights Daredevil, especially the Murdoch papers. And then aside from that, there's Daredevil Reborn, which are classic comic books from the original run of Daredevil Man Without Fear, and also Daredevil Born Again. You know, so they're going to be borrowing elements from those comics and putting them together to form a story. So get Daredevil, the Man Without Fear, Marvel Knights edition. These are really good stories to read. Next one. This is my prized comic in this collection and in this comic haul. It's very special to me. This is Spider-Man number 298. Really rare find. You don't really come across these that often. The thing that makes this comic so significant out of all these comic books is, number one, this is the first penciled drawn comic of Todd McFarlane, like from Todd McFarlane. Todd McFarlane draws my favorite version of Spider-Man. You see that back there? It's a little blurry in this video, but this is Spider-Man's run. Spider-Man number 1. Todd McFarlane penciled and drew Spider-Man. The way he's drawn in this comic is gorgeous. It's probably my favorite version of Spider-Man's look. And I'll pull it up here right now for you to look at. This is from Spider-Man Torment. It's my favorite Spider-Man cover of all time. It's the coolest looking one. And Todd McFarlane draws my favorite version of Spider-Man. But a known fact about Spider-Man, or Todd McFarlane, is that Todd McFarlane never liked drawing the black-suited Spider-Man for some reason. I would think he would like that because it's very simple to draw. It's just 2 shades of black and blue with white eyes, and you got yourself a black-suited Spider-Man. But apparently he never enjoyed drawing that, which is really weird to me. I would find it a lot easier to draw a black-suited Spider-Man than Spider-Man with like the red and blue and the lining and the webbing all over it. Todd McFarlane was extremely detailed with like his drawings, especially with the webbings, because the webbings are super detailed the way he drew them. I'm going to put it up close for you to see so you can take a look. So I'll let the camera adjust, and then you can see here the way he drew Spider-Man right there. See? It just looks, this Spider-Man, the way he draws Spider-Man makes him look very imposing and intimidating. And I love it because you can tell a lot of inspiration is drawn from that when he used to draw his Spawn comic books. So he first started working on Spider-Man, and then he went on to make Spawn comics in the 90s. And those are really, really cool too. But again, I keep repeating myself. Spider-Man from Todd McFarlane, you know, drawn by Todd McFarlane, is my favorite Spider-Man. He just looks the coolest in those issues. I urge you to pick up the Spider-Man run. And this is the self-titled one. This is Amazing Spider-Man, so this is part of the Amazing. But if you ever get a chance, if you're in a comic store, pick up Spider-Man. That's the self-titled comic book. There's different versions of Spider-Man comics. There's Amazing, there's Spectacular, there's Spider-Man, there's the Avenging Spider-Man, and it goes on. There's even Peter Parker Spider-Man. It's just different stories. Not necessarily, they don't necessarily coincide with one another, and some do and some don't. But like stories like, for example, from Web of Spider-Man comic books do continue on and branch off of like Amazing Spider-Man. So if you ever get a chance, go ahead and read them. A lot of good stories you're going to pull out from there. Some of the dialogue is a bit dated because a lot of these comics were written in the 80s and the 90s. So don't mind the dialogue. It can come across as a little cheesy here and there. But definitely there's a lot of elements that are very mature and that adults would love, would appreciate. So yeah, definitely read them. And lastly, this doesn't really count. This is a Marvel preview of Black Panther. I got this for free because I bought some comics, and I had comics waiting in my file for me to pick up because I'm a subscriber over there at the comic shop that I go to, so they always have comics ready for me to pick up on a weekly basis. But I got this for free. This is a Marvel preview of Black Panther. For those of you who are excited to see the movie or want to get an idea of what Black Panther's about, go ahead and read this. I'm pretty sure you'll love it. So yeah, that's my episode of Comic Haul, guys. What did you think of it? I hope you enjoyed it. Do you collect comics? Do you own any of these comics? What was your favorite comic out of this Comic Haul? Let me know in the comment section below. And please be sure to stick around to my channel. I usually upload on a daily basis. At least I try to. I do comic hauls every Saturdays and Sundays. I do game streams. So I'm going to be streaming a game tomorrow once again. It's probably going to be Dragon Ball Fighters. And yeah. So hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I will see you all in the next comic panel.